Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Honor the Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Ledford, and today we have Molly Butler with us, and we are about to have some fun, y'all. Woo! As you know, we start each episode with an image and story from my travels, because when I was traveling is when I really started to hear my intuition again. She'd gotten lost in the chaos and noise of the day-to-day and the expectations of my life. And when I got out, I started to hear her again. And I know she was always there and she'd just gotten muffled. So today, our image is called Buddhist Grandmother, and it was taken in Bodh Gaya, India. Each year, thousands of Buddhist monks and pilgrims from around the world descend upon Bodh Gaya for the World Peace Ceremony. During the event, monks encircle the Bodhi tree where the Buddha was enlightened and chant for peace. Adding to the cacophony, Buddhist pilgrims perform numerous prayer rituals on the periphery. The sound of the chants resonates through the air and will touch your soul. One of the most incredible experiences is watching as the monks and pilgrims exit the temple at the end of the day. The lane turns from near crimson robes in an instant. The peace and openness of this Buddhist pilgrim radiates love and conveys the feeling of the entire incredible event. And this is the image that reminds me of our guest today, Molly Butler. Molly, welcome.
Thank you so much. So awesome to be here.
So share yourself with us. Tell us about you.
Well, most recently, I have been on a 3-month road trip with my lover and partner, Michael. We have been traveling to all the different cities across the United States. I've never done a road trip like that before. I've been wanting to do it since I was like 12. And yeah, he was like, I want to show you all the things. And when we decided to go on the road trip, we also decided that we just have so much love to share that we wanted to start throwing some free events in some of the bigger cities. And we were basically just teaching people what love felt like in their body, not just love in a romantic relationship, but just love in general. And yeah, we were throwing some events. We would just create some really sacred space. We like to call them soul gatherings. And we just let people get super vulnerable and deeply connected and just created a space of community and love and excitement and awe and wonder. And yeah, it's just been, the last couple of months have been kind of the epitome of me and the work that I've done in the last 5 or 6 years on this personal development journey. It's been incredible meeting everybody, seeing what everybody's up to in the world, and just shining my light in the biggest way that I have yet. It's been really fun.
So can you tell us what you learned along the way and maybe what surprised you most?
Good question. What I've learned along the way is I like to put a lot on my plate at once. I've noticed a lot of my old patterns come up being on the road. Stuff like I used to have this belief that everything had to be hard and everything had to be a struggle. And when I put myself into newer situations, like being in a car with a partner 24/7, staying in new people's houses every 4 days, and, new spaces, you don't know where you're going to eat. And, your morning routines kind of start slipping a little because it's a little bit harder. I just recognize my old patterns coming up, and almost like a sabotage, like trying to make it harder than it needed to be.
I know nothing about that, Molly.
Right? I'm sure no one can relate to that one. So what I learned, which was beautiful, is I can keep my sense of peace and routine and love and ease in my everyday, no matter where I am or what I'm doing. And it's really easy to lose track of it. But everything is just a simple noticing. And I loved that, because when I was in the mindset of things being hard, it was just like a struggle to get back to the things that I liked. And now it's just like, oh, this is a little bit harder than what I'm used to right now. Like, how can I shift back into ease? So it's just like the constant noticing and the awareness of like what's happening. And if I don't like it, if it doesn't feel very good, then I can just easily shift back. It doesn't have to be like a hard thing anymore. So that's been a great lesson for me. It's just constantly coming back to myself, and it doesn't have to be so hard. And then let's see, what surprised me the most? Honestly, what surprised me the most was how willing complete strangers are to get super vulnerable with them, with each other and themselves. I couldn't believe it. We would go to a city and there would be anywhere. One time we had one guest show up. It was so perfect. And one time, and we've had up to like 30 people show up. So it's like all different size groups, in all different kinds of cities. Some of them are like very awake and conscious. Some of them not so much, like a big array. And every single time, people are just willing to go there, just like share stuff that they've never shared before and see and hear other people. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, I guess I thought maybe people needed a little more practice, or they needed, something to get vulnerable, but people are they're willing to go there. And it just showed me how much everybody only wants love and connection. That's like what everyone wants at the root of whatever they're trying for. We all just want love and connection. So it was surprising and so beautiful. And it's kind of just shifted the way that I've thought more about like the world and like actual like world peace and people coming together.
Well, and I will tell you, this is where I met Molly, was when she and Michael were in Asheville. And I think actually what you're speaking to is the beautiful, sacred, safe space that you and he created for people to drop into. And I think we may believe that there's more of it out there, but when we feel it in that way, we realize I realize how much I was yearning for it, right? Like stepping into circle and that sacred, safe space is something I've been doing for the last couple of years. And I'm almost at that point where I was like, what did I do before this? Because I didn't know it was missing before I felt it. And so what you're doing, you and Michael are doing, are so profound because you're actually physically creating it, and then people are feeling it, and it enlivens something in our DNA.
Ah, yes. Thank you for that acknowledgement. It's so beautiful. And it's so easy to do once you've experienced it. It's just like, oh yeah, like this is what we love, this is what you love, and let's just create it together.
And there was something really gorgeous for me because a lot of that safe, sacred space for me has been in sisterhood. So it's been circles of what is mostly women.
Right.
Almost exclusively women. But because you guys really opened it up and it was this co-ed space, it felt different. But it still felt really safe and really sacred. And that's really beautiful to take something that I'd experienced in one form, right? And really take it to another form and like drop it in even deeper because of that form.
Well, and that was the whole talk when we were deciding. We're like, yeah, we really want to just like, we're both coaches. He does a lot of men's work. He does amazing work for men. I work mostly with women, and we both really value the other. So like I grew up all having like guy friends. I was always like the girl in a group of guys, and he was always the guy in a group of girls. So like we both have that little bit of background. And in our relationship, we've done such a deep dive with all the work for men's work and women's work. And we both have come to this place. It's like, yes, we need to like heal the wounded masculine. And yes, the women need to like step into divine feminine. But where the real magic is when both people connect to that and then combine it together and support each other and come into this beautiful intertwining of energies. And it's like just the unification of everything. Like that's ultimately what's going to heal the world. So in that conversation, we were just like, this is absolutely where it has to be right now. Like this is what we have to do. We need more of the unification of everything. And it fills us up. Like I love my sister circles. He loves his men's circles. And there's more magic to be had when you can have both. Like the masculine is just like holding down, the fort for us to just completely flow. And then we create a safe space for them to like fall into the feminine. It's beautiful when they all come together. It's just
And
so
it's
fulfilling.
so ripe right now. Like the divine union is so ripe. And I
Yeah,
think there's been this place where individually, perhaps we've been looking for it outside of ourselves, even
totally.
in our relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where the real power is that we all carry this sacred masculine and divine feminine within us.
Right.
And as we, regardless of gender, so
Right.
as you tap in, then you can feel that power within yourself. It's activating your, divine essence.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can share it with somebody else. We've been trying to like share it with each other.
Right.
And it's gotten like, I don't know, it feels contorted somehow or like
Totally.
tweaked in a way that like doesn't really serve us.
Yeah.
And as we come back in, but things are primed right now for it. I mean, the divine feminine is rising and the sacred masculine is awakening, and it's time.
Oh yeah. It's definitely time. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I know I was looking when you said it's like kind of contorted or tweaked. I always see it as kind of like there's this pathway like straight to divinity, and it's just a little fractured. So like the energy gets a little frenetic and kind of goes, and it's just like solidifying it again and just letting everything flow through and just like unify through the pathway to love, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're so right. It feels like it is this, it's almost a small tweak, but it feels a lot bigger because that tweak has happened in each of us individually. And so collectively it can feel huge and overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. I'm in conversations about that a lot. Like how can we each take responsibility for ourselves, first of all, and also know that a lot of the wounds and the pressure and the stress that we feel, it's like, it's collective, it's lineage, it's not just our stuff. There's so much coming into it. And then same thing with, the men or anyone that's working with any kind of masculine or feminine energy within themselves or outside. It's like taking personal responsibility, also recognizing there's so much more to it. And then in that, just deciding like, oh yeah, I'm going to step into divine masculine or feminine, and I'm going to honor divine masculine and feminine in other people. It's just the beautiful marriage of it, man. It's like intoxicating. It's so good.
And this tweak has just kept us from it. And as we smooth that out, we're remembering. Like we're not learning anything new.
Right.
We're just remembering what is already held within us that's actually ours by divine right.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I love these conversations.
So where does this whole journey begin for you? Like where does it start? Because very often you don't drop into the divine union as your starting point.
Right. Totally. Mine actually started, I want to say it started when I was a lot younger. My parents got divorced when I was 7. And in like the break of the family, I kind of stepped into like a mother role, even when I was 7 with a younger brother and sister. And I just kind of always had this feeling like there's something more to life. There's something more than what we're told, like, get good grades in school and get a good job and have a family and live paycheck to paycheck. Like I just knew that there was something more to it. And then my dad was actually murdered in 2012, and he was actually missing for 9 months, and we found out he was murdered. And in the time that he was missing, I went into a deep, deep, deep depression. And then right around my birthday, it was my 25th birthday, I kind of like heard his voice saying like, what are you doing? Like, I lost my life, but you can't lose yours. And I was just like, oh man. And it just, something about that, I was like, okay, like I was doing hair for about 10 years at that point. And I was like, I love doing hair because I have a little bit of a creative outlet, but mostly because I loved hearing people's stories. I loved when someone sat in my chair and I'm playing with their hair and they're just spilling out their life stories. I learned so much just about people and about all the different stories that we can have, and still the similar threads running through all of them and how we can all kind of relate to each other. And in that, I was contemplating sharing my story because I didn't tell too many people at first. And I was like, I didn't want people to pity me and all that. And in the time that all of this was going on, I got into meditation and yoga. Mm-hmm. And, I had tried so many different kinds of things. I had seen 10 to 12 therapists. Nothing was really like working, and working in the sense where I felt even seen or heard was really all I was wanting. And when and when I stepped into, and when I got into meditation and I just started like observing my thoughts, observing my mind, I started feeling the masculine, feminine energies. And I got curious. I'm like, what is this that I'm feeling? I started doing yoga. And the second I put my feet on the mat, something else like came through, or something. I was finally feeling something else that was coming through. And I just got super curious. I started going to meditation events. I started eating really healthy. I started reading a lot of books. And in all of that, it was kind of like I found my own way through the help of these resources. But I found that when I calm my mind, when I put really good, foods in my belly, when I'm having really good conversations of seeing people and hearing people and having the same in return, there was just something else present. And to me, I kind of learned, oh yeah, that's like divine feminine. That's like my essence. It's been here the whole time. I heard her when I was little. She was always there. And we're just not taught to listen to that. Yeah. So it was like you said, it wasn't learning. It was remembering. It was remembering that she's always there. It was remembering seeing her when I would go to the beach when I was little, and I'd put my feet in the ocean and the sand, and I'd just see it wash back and forth naturally. And like, it was effortless. Like the ocean just knows. I'm getting goosebumps again. The ocean just knows.
Am I.
See, she's powerful, man. But yeah, it's just like, trees don't think to grow. The ocean doesn't think to, wipe up the waves. It just happens. And when I tap into that energy for myself, like my life just started unfolding like more and more beautifully. I started attracting the most amazing people into my life, the most amazing opportunities and moments where I was just like literally just awestruck. Like I couldn't even do anything but stand there with like tears in my eyes and just full gratitude. So yeah, I want to say the catalyst was when my dad went missing, but really I had felt it my entire life, and it was just remembering getting back to that.
Yeah, I had that feeling too around, it got muffled because it wasn't valued. So then I didn't value it. And so there's this whole dance around that. And I just saw Marianne Williamson here in Asheville a couple of weeks ago. Oh, cool. And she was talking about, there's this sort of idea that there's this apocalyptic event coming and like going to tear apart the world or whatever. She's like, it's not going to tear apart the world. We're each having our own little apocalypse. Yes. Whether it's cancer or bankruptcy or death or depression, whatever it is, that's your wake up.
Yes.
And so many of us can feel into what that wake up event was, even if it happened and we woke up right then, or it took us even some more time, because I lost a boyfriend in a freak accident at 22 after being together a number of years, and he was 23. And I can feel the way it shifted some of those long-term conditionings around you get to enjoy life when you retire and, some of these things. And I was like, that's just not true. Like, I get today. And it took me some time to like live into that, right? Like it's like it opened it up, and then it took me some time to walk and live into that. But, But yeah, like it's, And so then there's these access points. So this is why we do the podcast, right? Because something we're talking about may resonate for someone. Totally. And then the invitation is to lean in, move in that direction, get curious, find out if there's something there for you. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. Both are okay.
Yes, totally. Wherever you're at is totally perfect. I love that.
Yeah, and following that curiosity, because it can take us places we never fathomed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you look back can you look back 2 years and be like, I cannot believe where I am right now? Because that's my experience of it.
Oh, yeah. I even looked back 6 months ago and I'm like, what?
Yes!
I'm living that life that like, I didn't even know was possible. Like, even if I was like dreamed the biggest dream ever, like I'm living even better than that. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's so funny. I think back a lot to the times where I made a decision simply off that little whisper. Like, oh, this makes no sense. People even get mad because it doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, I know you think that I can't, but I'm going to go do it because there's this little whisper. I've been ignoring it my whole life and I'm going to do it anyways. And in following those moments, the most magical things happen. Like I thought I was moving out to California because it was beautiful there and I loved the weather. Okay, yes, that is so true. And it was to like really step into my feminine and really find like sister circles and really find sacred union and just to undo all of the patterning and the stories and beliefs and everything that I had in my life. Like it's always so much bigger, but it's just like you said, get curious, like listen to the little whisper, like, hey, the little like tap on the shoulder. Don't wait until life punches you in the face. Like listen to the little tap on the shoulder because we're getting them all the time.
I have a sister. We laugh that we try to be more conscious now of the pebbles so that the boulders don't like knock us completely over, right?
Oh,
and like
gosh.
Sometimes I still get boulders. It's less often now because I'm just more attuned to the pebbles. But oh yeah.
Well, and the programming runs so deep, right? So it's like certain things will knock you off a little course and you kind of get back into the, the old mindset or the old habits or whatever. And then just, it's just like nudging back, like, okay, you need a boulder because you're not listening. And they're few and far between now. It's so awesome. Yeah. It's so awesome.
And you said something beautiful around like getting off track and that ability to sort of come back on. And like to me, that's always felt like as I've really stepped into my spirituality, it has just strengthen the roots of my tree. So there can be all kinds of chaos going on the branches, and it's not gonna lift me up out of the ground and like throw me so far from the path that I have to like crawl back to it. It's gonna be uncomfortable in the branches, but I'm solid. There's this piece of me that's solid. And sometimes it's still extremely uncomfortable when the branches are whipping around.
Totally. I've been working with a couple of my friends on that, and a couple clients and stuff. It was just like getting really comfortable with being uncomfortable, because we're taught so much like, oh, go with the comfortable thing. And I'm all about pleasure in my life. Like if it feels good, I'm doing it. And life can be uncomfortable sometimes, especially stepping into an unknown, growing into like a bigger version of yourself that you've never been before. And getting comfortable with being uncomfortable has been by far one of the most important things I've ever done in my life, especially like in relationship. I've noticed that comes up a lot. We've been sitting in a car together 24/7 for 3 months. I've had maybe a total of like 10 days alone in the past 3 months. And I love my alone time. It's like necessary for me. So in those moments when we're in the car and it's like, the tension's building, we're both feeling different things. And like, we're kind of sick of processing everything and just kind of, we kind of call it like sitting in the mud. We're just like sitting in the mud and just like flinging it at each other, like hoping something changes. But sometimes like, I just get super comfortable. I'm like, oh, wow. Like I'm noticing that I want to fix the situation so I feel better. And sometimes it's just like, no, if I can sit here and just like appreciate that sometimes things are uncomfortable, it's almost like we pop through to the next level even easier. And it's like, I never thought in a million years I'd be like, oh yeah, like make me uncomfortable. I'm totally cool with that. Like that's not a thing that I ever strived to or thought, saw any value in. And it's really interesting seeing the value in that now. It's like, oh yeah, like being uncomfortable is part of the human experience also. So instead of pushing it away and rejecting it and making it even more uncomfortable, just like, oh yeah, cool. Like I'm feeling really uncomfortable and that's totally fine. It's been interesting.
And not bypassing that, because sometimes I think when we start on a spiritual path, we want to always be in the light, right? And somehow we're enlightened. I don't know. I've had the story that I had a story at one point that's like, oh, if I'm enlightened or heading towards enlightenment, I'm in the light all the time. Yes. And the truth is, there's been so much medicine in the shadow, in my shadow work, in really feeling whatever's going on. Even if I can move through it quickly, great, or not. But feeling it. And really giving it some space to be what it is.
Yeah. Well, and really when the shadows are coming up, they're really just saying like, hey, this is a part of you that you're rejecting. And by us trying to bypass it and trying to like look the other way into the light, it's like, it's kind of like a screaming toddler. Like all they just like, mine. As soon as you look at them and say yes, they're like, okay, they're good. Like the shadow is just wanting attention. So it's like you give it attention like, oh, hey, like I'm making this a lot harder than I need to right now. And I love that. And then it goes away. It like disappears. It's just, it's integrating the shadows. It's not ignoring them. It's like going into them, loving them because they are a part of you. No matter how light you are, you have shadows, and just integrating that part. It just makes it, again, union. It goes back to the union. It just like, it unifies everything. Yeah.
We're going to take a sacred pause right here so I can share with you a way that you can deepen in with me. Ava Aldenolfi and I are offering Ignite Your 2018 Vision. And this is going to be a virtual interactive workshop that really takes in the macro, the big picture, and then the micro, really getting it on your calendar so you have a structure and a flow that you can step into for 2018. Visioning has really changed my life in that it's really created this container for me to flow, to confidently flow into. So if you're listening to this in real time, you can join us on Sunday, December 3rd, 2017 for this virtual workshop. For all the information, you can go over to rememberingdivineunion.com. All right, back to the show. So can you speak to us a little about how you honor the feminine and stay in touch with your intuition?
Yeah. Ooh. Let's see. So I feel like I go in different phases. Like I've had different phases of like how I like call in the feminine again, or how I like get in touch with my intuition. I think the constant is meditation. Like always meditation and movement for me. I do what's called a dancing meditation. I don't know if it's an actual thing. I just call it like that. A lot of times like
it is because you do it. It is an actual thing because you do it.
Exactly. Yeah, if I even just like close my eyes, I kind of just like tune into my body. Like, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling any kind of tension? Am I feeling any like nervousness? If there's any like, sometimes I'll have like a stirring in my stomach or like a little bit of a headache or something. I'll just notice it and just kind of sit with it for a few minutes. And a lot of the times I'll ask it what it's trying to tell me. I've gotten really in touch.
Beautiful.
So like if I have any kind of like ache or pain or, even like with sinus infection sometimes, or, or like a little, I'm sneezing. I'm like, oh, what are you trying to tell me right now? And like that's a way for me to tap into my intuition, like immediately. Cause like our physical body, it's all related. It's all connected. And our physical body tends to be usually the last, it's like the boulder. when something manifests in our physical body, it's usually the boulder saying, hey, we've been tapping you on the shoulder. You haven't been listening. So the very first thing I do is I kind of work my way down. So the easiest thing for me is there something in my body that's trying to get my attention? And then in doing that, I kind of just like keep my eyes closed and I kind of just like calm. And then I kind of notice what's around me. Like, do I feel a breeze right now? Do I feel do I hear birds? Do I hear like leaves rustling? Going outside in nature is my number one way to get this done. Like super, super easy. I connect with nature so easily. But yeah, it's just taking a moment to listen. That's been, listening to my body, listening to nature. Immediately taps me into my intuition. And then other things like taking a bath. Whole Foods has these bath bombs. There's one called Petal Metal and it has rose petals in it. Oh my gosh. I put it in the water. It turns the water pink, which is like the most feminine feeling ever, getting in a pink bath. And there's like little rose petals. And I found so much joy and feminine energy when I'm in a bath. It's so fun. I never liked baths growing up. Like I didn't take a bath for maybe 10 years. I was a total shower girl. And and being on the road, it's been harder to tap in. It's been harder to listen. just being on the road in different people's spaces all the time, different foods, different sleep schedules, different time zones, different, like always something different every few days. And I found, honoring the feminine to me is like I'll paint my nails like a really pretty color. I'll put on a flowy dress, or I'll hop in a hot bath and really just like spend time with myself. Another thing I do in the morning, before I even open my eyes, before I do anything, I'll use my hands to kind of like squeeze like my arms and my legs and my belly and just kind of just feel my body without judging it. And that automatically gets me into my body. And the rest of the day, it's so easy to listen to anything that's trying to come in, like the little whispers. It's amazing. And I was talking to one of my friends about this a while ago, and we were saying, when we look in the mirror as women, most of the time, you're going to pick out 3 to 4 things that you don't like. That's just, unless you've done so much mirror work, unless you're, really, really in your body, which most of the population isn't, you look in the mirror and you think about a couple things that you don't like. Very rarely do we look and like, oh yeah, like I love every single thing about me. But your hands don't know judgment. When your hands are feeling something, they don't know what's fat or skinny or, has too many pimples or, whatever. All it knows is the feeling of the skin, the feeling of your body that has been doing such an amazing job keeping you active and doing all the things you want to do. Like even if you're not eating well, like your stomach is holding that for you and distributing the nutrients the way that it needs to. So really getting in touch with my body is one of my favorite ways. Just like honoring the feminine, my feminine body and how beautiful and like supple it can be, how soft it can be. And then, just listening, calming my mind. And it all kind of just like goes in part with itself. It's like, okay, what can I do in this moment? Can I take a bath? No. Can I touch my body? Can I go listen to nature? It's like having a couple tools in my tool belt kind of. And the more I do them, the less I have to try to listen. It just happens naturally and just kind of sweeps me up into this like feminine party, really.
I want to try the body first thing in the morning. That feels love. That, I mean, I'm like, ooh. So that'll be my curiosity that I start to follow a bit and see how that feels for me.
Perfect. It's so good. Yeah, I can't wait to hear your experience. It's so good. And so, I'm such a huge fan of getting in the body because our body's so intelligent. Like I said, it's like, it's so connected. So like putting my feet in grass or like touching like plants or animals or something like, just like using our senses to get back into our body, just like the dancing meditation. I'll just get up in my room and even with no music on, I'll just start moving my body. And in that, it's just like, it's like a surefire way to like, oh, your intuition is right here, right now. And it's very, very easy to listen to. So anything that can get me in my body is my favorite.
I love that because that has definitely been one of those places where I've tended to be less connected. And I can really, what's up right now for me is around the elusiveness of my sensuality. And what I've been feeling into is like how that really lives in my body and that a movement around my body starts to really turn that on.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So good. So you've spoken to one point, and I made a note, so I just want to circle back. There was this idea that the economy is changing. Mm-hmm. That the way in which we think about money, bring prosperity and money into our lives, that it's changing. And if you could speak into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've actually been studying the Gene Keys, which I know you and I have spoke about before. I'm super obsessed with it. A great body of work. And I found out that in one of my spheres, I'm a 6th line, which basically just means I have a very, very big vision of humanity as a whole and just like where we're going. And it's actually a big, big pain point for me because it's almost like I can see 50 years into the future and I can see that the things that we're working towards, they're going to be obsolete later. But I also have to find a way to kind of live in the now too. But yeah, I kind of just have this sense, like if you've noticed just in the past like 5 years, even entrepreneurship has just exploded. People are recognizing that working for the man is not it's not admirable. It's not, it doesn't actually get you to the places you want to go. Like if you think of most people that have had the same job for, 20, 25 years, I have a good friend who is, worked in the post office for about 25 years. And it's like, every time you talk to him, he's like, oh, I wish I could travel, but I don't have the money. And it's like, that situation never actually changes. So the business started changing. It's like, oh, if you want to make more money, you have to get out of this salary mindset of where you have a cap and start building your own thing. So entrepreneurship, I know it's been around, the last 12 years, I think has been really, really big. And the last 5 has been outrageous. People are no longer working for anyone else. They're working towards something for themselves and being able to leave the legacy. And I see that shifting more and more and more. Coaching and personal development is getting even bigger. And I feel like people are just starting to wake up at a really, really rapid rate. And in that, I think people are recognizing that safety and stability are kind of shifting out of the most important things that people are needing now. And now it's fulfillment. It's like people want to feel fulfilled. They want to feel love and happiness and joy and freedom. Freedom keeps coming up huge. It's like, do you really want to wake up and go to a job that you absolutely hate, where you're not making a lot of money? You don't like the coworkers. There's no more growth for opportunity for growth once you've reached, the top rung of the ladder. And just, I think a lot more people are recognizing now that maybe there's another way. So the explosion of entrepreneurship has been so beautiful because people are now in control of how much they want to make, how much they want to work, what they want to do, what fills them up, how can they serve other people. And I think that in pair with people starting to now feel fulfilled or working towards how do I feel fulfilled? Once we fill up, we just want to overflow that to everyone else. And I see the economy turning into this thing of, I'm super fulfilled, so now how can I help you? And it just turns into a flood of service, everyone being filled up and flowing that into other people. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the shifts. I see it. I say I live in a bubble in Encinitas in California. I don't know anybody that has a normal job. Hundreds and hundreds of people, and everybody does their own thing. And I just see that kind of rippling out into the rest of the world. It's just more fun. There's no more normalcy to it. What we think of a normal thing, oh, get a good job and you work 9 to 5 and you have this paycheck. That doesn't exist in the world that I live in. And I just see that rippling out into the rest of the world right now. And it's just becoming more and more popular to take a hold of your own future and your own freedom and what do you want to create. And then by doing that, I just see it trickling out into the rest of the world. Everybody's getting super fulfilled and working towards fulfillment now rather than security and safety, and recognizing that when you're fulfilled, you already have security and safety. You are secure and safe in yourself because you're fulfilled. It's nothing outside of you. It's filling up your own cup and then, overflowing to everyone else. Yeah, I'm super excited for where I think, the workforce and the economy is going. I don't think people are going to have to work as hard. I don't think people are going to have to be as miserable and do things just because they think they should. People are doing them because they want to now.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my old stories, that I have to work soul-crushingly hard and all these hours and not have relationships with my family in order to have money, right?
Right.
And that's an old story for me. But it's also one that comes up at times and it shows up as scarcity. And I recognize it more now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and those patterns, like we said, they run super, super deep. They've been around for hundreds of years. So it's even when we have stepped into our own thing and we're running amazing podcasts, and serving the world in that way, it is still going to pop up sometimes. And again, it's just in the awareness, oh, that's interesting. Hey, Story, it's nice to see you again. You had an amazing run and you're not running the show anymore.
Right. Yeah, and now I see you as a signpost of, oh, what's a little off kilter? What do I need to pay attention to? Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love getting those little clues. I used to be really hard on myself when I found I was a little off schedule or off track or whatever. Oh my gosh, I was I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing this right, and And now I'm like, oh, I love finding where like I might be a little off track, because it's just like a little nudge, like, oh yeah, I can improve this again. And I can add more into my life. And it gets me really excited, because it has me pay more attention to like how much more pleasure and how much more joy and freedom can I invite back into my life. It becomes a fun game.
Oh, on that note, are you ready for the random questions, my love?
Oh, yeah.
So the first one is, if you could sit down with any woman, alive or dead, for a chat and tea, who would it be?
Oh. If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, it would have been a different answer. And today, my answer is my grandma, Molly. My dad's mom. I was named after her, obviously. And I never got to meet her. She died when my dad was 17. And I don't know, maybe it was like Father's Day being yesterday and stuff, like something got brought up with like the women in my family. And I've been doing a lot of lineage work, just like breaking a lot of patterns and stuff. And I just remember my dad telling me about my grandma Molly and how she had red hair and she was super fiery and super feminine. She always had like the best like dresses and makeup and nails done. And I was never really attracted to that before, like, you know, like women that always looked perfect. So I was like, oh, it's too high maintenance. And I've just come to like a really big, grateful space for that, and like kind of intrigued, like getting more in touch with my feminine. She feels like one of the most fierce feminines I could ever meet. And I would love to just like sit down with her and like pick her brain. Like, what was life like when she was alive, and what kind of things did she believe, and what kind of things did she work for, and just talk about our names being the same. And like, yeah, I just feel like it would probably be super surprising. I don't think I would be able to anticipate anything that she would say. And that really excites me.
Oh, I love that. And the second question is, where would you most like to travel?
I have so many places on my list right now. I think right now I'm getting the most called for like Thailand or Bali, or both. There's something about the culture and the beaches and the weather, and you know, getting like massages and all the things. Yeah, I'm getting really called for like Asia, like Thailand, Bali right now. Yeah, it just feels really fun. I love Thai food and I love beaches and all the things. And yeah, I want to go check it out. I've checked out a lot of other places, and that one's, I think, the next on my list.
Follow the love to Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So my love, how do we reach out and connect with you? How do we get more Molly in our lives?
Facebook is the best way. Just search Molly Butler. I'm usually the first one that comes up. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of posting, a lot of live videos on there. I'm in the works of some new things coming up, and everything will be announced on Facebook. It's kind of like my central hub. Yeah, so Facebook, Molly Butler.
I love it. My love, thank you for today.
Thank you so much. It's so fun.
I loved being with Molly. This idea of listening to the little whisper is the way I've structured my life for many, many years. And it feels so good to drop in with a kindred spirit around that. It was so lovely to meet Molly and Michael while they were on their Follow the Love tour as it came through Asheville this past year. And it was so great to drop in with her around the shadow and the masculine and the feminine, and where we are in the collective right now, in the collective consciousness, and all the rapid expansion and change that is swirling around us and that we can really tap into. So if you would like more Molly in your life, and I can't recommend that more highly, you can go to the show notes for this episode at honorthefeminine.com. I mentioned that Ava Aldinolfi and I are doing a visioning workshop, Ignite Your 2018 Vision. And if you're listening to this in real time, that will be on December 3rd, 2017. It's a Sunday afternoon to drop into your vision for the coming year. For information on that, you can go to rememberingdivineunion.com. Also, if you'd like to drop in with the listeners of the podcast and share your opinions and views, and I go live in this group, we have a beautiful space on Facebook at Honor the Feminine Daily. And I'd love to have you join us there and contribute to the conversation. Also, if you loved this episode with Molly, please share it with a friend. That's the way I find all the podcasts that I love the most. And also subscribe. We have some great guests coming up through the end of the year. And then we are going to be doing some shifts in 2018. Some of my visioning is going to come to fruition, and you'll see it right here on the podcast. All right. Have a gorgeous day.